I'm the only Malaysian fund manager that has experienced all the bear markets in Malaysia, the underlying factors that cause the bull or the bear will differ from period to period. I don't call myself a guru because in every twist and turn, there will always be new elements that were not there in the past. I think the most important thing is for them to understand that to be able to invest successfully, it's going to take a long time. It's not going to be where you do it for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and therefore you can become a successful investor. Maybe because I'm not so intelligent, not so smart, but after about 50 over years, I still describe myself as a student of the stock market. I don't call myself a guru because in every twist and turn, there will always be new elements that were not there in the past. So for any new investor, lower your expectations. Don't expect to be rich or making a lot of money within a couple of years, or worse still, something like a couple of months. Second thing, it will be extremely useful to start small. You have to start small and then make some losses. Why? Because when you make losses, then you realize that, look, it is not as easy as what I think it is. Then you become better prepared. And therefore your expectations are a lot more realistic. I mean, all of us want to double our money in 1 month, right? But how realistic is that? Or even double your money in a year, how realistic is that? Because if you're able to double your money in such a short time, within a short period of time, you can be the richest man in Malaysia. So to be able to start small at the beginning would be extremely important to anchor your expectations. In our company, in Capital Dynamics, we describe 3 fools in the stock market. The stock market has got 3 fools: old fools, new fools, and regular fools. So your choice is, everybody has got to be a new fool. So you lose small, you start small. And then after that, which direction? Do you become an old fool or do you become a regular fool, right? So you must make sure that you become an old fool as fast as possible so that you don't keep making the same mistake and become a regular fool. Because you're going to be a regular fool in the stock market. You myself don't invest in the stock market. It's unfortunate in Malaysia that there's only one closed-end fund listed on Bursa, which is icapital.biz. If you look at the major financial markets, New York, London, Sydney, about 10 to 13-14% of the total listed companies in London and New York are made up of closed-end funds. So you got hundreds of closed-end funds in New York, London, and Sydney, and you have plenty of choices. Here, there's only one, but that does not mean that it is not something that you should ignore. In fact, a closed-end fund is in many ways a very superior investment product, especially for individual investors, right? And if you compare closed-end fund with the normal unit trust fund, which is an open-end fund, the closed-end fund has got inherent advantages over the open-end unit trust fund. So one of the major advantages is this. In a open-end unit trust fund, we always say that I want my money to be managed by a professional fund manager, so I invest in ABC Unit Trust or Amanah Saham, this and so on. But you don't realize, because of the nature of the unit trust, which is open-end, that means investors can add in more money anytime, investors can withdraw the money anytime, right? So when you add in more money to the unit trust fund, the fund manager must invest to find something to invest, even if the stock market is overvalued. Or when the investors panic, when investors are fearful and they withdraw, they redeem from the unit trust fund, the fund manager of the unit trust fund has no choice but to sell, so that the fund manager can raise the money to pay you back your redemption. So when you look at the openness of the unit trust fund, essentially the fund manager It's not the professional fund manager. The fund manager is actually the individual unit trust holders. Because when you decide to put in more money, when you decide to redeem, you are impacting the investment decision of the fund manager. For a closed-end fund, like icapital.biz, that problem doesn't exist. Because the closed-end fund listed on Bursa is like a normal listed company. Right? You buy the shares of that listed company. It could be like Maxis or Tenaga and so on. So whenever you buy the shares of a closed-end fund or you sell the shares of the closed-end fund, you do not impact the investment decision of the fund manager, because when you buy the shares, there's no additional money flowing into the closed-end fund. When you sell the shares of a closed-end fund, there's no money withdrawn from the closed-end fund. So the money, in the case of buying and selling the shares of a closed-end fund, flows between the buyer and the seller, leaving aside the closed-end fund and its fund manager to decide what to do independent of the decision of the shareholders. So that gives the closed-end fund, its fund manager, the ability to pick good stocks and invest for the long term, and don't have to sell when he ought to buy, or don't have to buy when he ought to sell. icapital.biz practices what is known as value investing. Right? It's an investment philosophy that is the oldest, is proven in different countries in different time periods, even during the Great Depression, and famous successful investors like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, they are all followers of value investing. So that is the most important advantage, I guess, that we have the correct investment philosophy for long-term investment. Second thing is the fund manager, myself. As I mentioned, I've seen all the bear markets, I've seen all the bull markets. So you have placed your money in good hands. I'm the type that will be able to look at investments that are able to give high returns but with low risk. The typical finance theory, when you learn in university, right? Your lecturer will tell you high risk, high return. But if you think about it carefully, that doesn't make sense. Because if high risk really gives you high return, then what you should do is don't look for an experienced fund manager. Look for a 5-year-old child, a 5-year-old kid, because a 5-year-old kid can take all kinds of risks and therefore can give you high returns. But that's illogical. So I think the second advantage is, in our case, in addition to the features, to the positive features of a closed-end fund, you have a fund manager who has, well, I wouldn't say seen it all, but I've seen many, and therefore we are able to produce good returns with the investors sleeping soundly at night. Even through the worst of the crisis, you can sleep soundly at night. The one thing that would be very distinctive about myself is that I'm the only Malaysian fund manager that has experienced all the bear markets in Malaysia, starting from the super bear in 1973, where the stock market index plunged for 2 years about 80%. Starting from there until now, I've seen the 1982 bear market, the 1985, 1990, 97, 2000, and so on and so forth. That's something I think which allows me to be able to understand the different cycles, economic cycles, business cycles, political cycles, and whereby every bear market, every bull market, they go up and down. That's the similarity. But every bear is different from another bear market. Another bull market is different from another bull market. The underlying factors that cause the bull or the bear will differ from period to period. So I've gone through all of them, and I think for investors who are still new or who are not able to discern what is happening, this experience that I have, this pretty wide knowledge that I have will come in very handy, very useful.